tied up by Green. Throws it back up top. James puts up the three. Oh, it's good! LeBron James from downtown.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video of 3 Guys on Mic. I'm William, joined by the man himself, Aaron Romero. And this week is week 11 of the NFL season. And to be quite frankly, looking at all these games, I think a lot of these games could shift the playoff picture, especially for the NFC. A lot of these games are going to be interesting. I'm going to take you guys down the line of games that I want to cover. It's going to be the Eagles and Saints, Patriots Falcons, Colts Bills, Packers Vikings, Bengals Raiders, Cowboys Chiefs, Steelers Chargers, Giants Buccaneers. So those are the games we're mainly going to cover this week. We give me that face. Okay, I don't know why you give me that face, but those are the games we're mainly going to cover this week. Before we get into the video, make sure you guys like, subscribe. Appreciate all the support. Thank you guys. But the first game we're going to jump into is the game that has the most appeal from Week 11, and that is going to be the Cowboys and the Chiefs. Aaron, start off.
This is two teams coming off big wins. Obviously, the Chiefs are hot right now. Steaming hot, won 3 in a row. Pat Mahomes is back. I mean, he was never really gone, in my opinion. He's still second in yards and I think touchdowns as well. And he's the elite quarterback, right? He's top 3 for sure, hands down one of the best. And to me, a lot of people want to throw around Dak that he's elite. I don't think he's still there. I think he's working his way towards it, but he's just not there yet. He's not in the same column as Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Brady, all those other guys, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, stuff like that. But with me, this battle, I'm looking at it, it says the Cowboys have a 50% chance, right? It's basically 50-50. It's 50-49. But when it comes down to it, I think the Chiefs secondary really isn't that bad. I mean, I think they're top 10 in the fewest yards allowed. And our secondary, they're not really built off pass breakups and speed and making. They do make a lot of big plays, right? Mm-hmm. But the speed of this Chiefs team, their wide receiving core, scares me. Because I don't think our team on the secondary, I know they're big, they're strong, right? But I don't think they're as fast. I don't think they can compete with them. Jaron Kearse is probably going to draw the assignment of Travis Kelce most of the game. Mm-hmm. And I think that's pretty fair. I think I like that matchup to keep him safe, but it's just Tyreek Hill and McCall Harmon are really the ones I have to worry about. Mm-hmm. So going into this game, I like our defense. They're hot right now, but also the Chiefs. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Chiefs a slight edge in this game.
I'm not mad at that. I could honestly see. I thought you were going to go with the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are the favorites to me in this game, the more complete football team. I'm going to start off with the Chiefs. I think Patrick Mahomes, as Aaron said before, that Patrick Mahomes really was never gone. It was just he wasn't playing at that level that we were used to him seeing. But it wasn't like he was playing horrible by any means. He was making a lot of turnovers, but he was still making a lot of big plays, and he was still a really good quarterback. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays this week because I think the Cowboys defense is a much better defense than the Raiders from last week. And I don't think the Raiders are going to play the Chiefs the same way. I think the Cowboys are going to go the same way. And they're going to play how other teams were playing them, 2 high safeties. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's going to be interesting to see. I think Michael Parsons is going to be a big key in this game.
1,000%. I
think that he's going to have to be in Mahomes' face all night. And if not, he's going to have to be, who knows, maybe he's going to get some snaps where he's on Travis Kelce. We never know. But for the Chiefs, yeah, I think last week was a big step in the right direction. Simply because Mahomes, obviously having the game that he had, but Travis Kelce was having a big game that he wasn't having in those past few weeks. So I think that this team, the Chiefs do have the edge in this game. I think going in, they're in their home crowd. But I do think the Cowboys have a really big advantage in this game on the field when it comes to you have 2 good running backs, a good offensive line. Dak is still another week back from removed from his injury. So I think the Cowboys are going to have the edge. I'm going to go with the Cowboys in this game. And I think their defense is going to step up. And I think that they're going to limit the Chiefs to under 30 points. So
under 30?
Yeah.
That's pretty reasonable. And last year, I feel like a bright spot going into this game for the Cowboys is last year Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. Or was the head coach for the Falcons, right? And I'm pretty sure he obviously has some input on the defense.
Yeah.
And those are one of the teams last year where the Chiefs didn't score over 20.
Yeah.
And they kept it close. And they lost by, unfortunately, Young Hoku missing a game-winning field goal. So I think he played it pretty well. So hopefully it fast forward. It happens to it's a replay on Sunday.
Yeah. Next game I'm going to go with is Thursday night's game, Patriots and the Falcons. Now, a lot of people may not think that this is a really good matchup, but I think that this is going to be big for both teams. If the Patriots win, for now they're in first place of the AFC East. If the Falcons lose, it could kind of hurt them because right now they're in the hunt for the NFC playoff picture. So I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Aaron, what do you think about these two teams?
Man, not much to say about the Falcons. Like I said last week, this team They were on a little hot streak before the Cowboy game. Last week they got exposed, they got outcoached, they got outplayed. And I like their head coach, Arthur Smith. I think he has some fight to him, so I don't expect them to get absolutely blown out this week, considering the fact they are at home. But I think it comes down for the Patriots. It's obviously a big game for them. They want to get that first place, and they're hitting their stride. Mac Jones playing phenomenal. Bill Belichick is starting to get his defense rolling here. And I don't think there's a lot of bright spots with this Falcons offense, especially the offensive line and the way the Patriots have been rushing the quarterback. I expect a big game from Matt Judon and this defense and J.C. Jackson to give Kyle Pitts hell, because I think they might throw him on him. I think that's the best matchup they have, and I got the Patriots winning.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Patriots do take this game. I think they're the better coach team. I think they have the better quarterback as of right now. No, don't get me wrong. Matt Ryan has been playing really good this year, considering what happened with his number one receiver, missing some time due to mental health issues. He has a young weapon, Kyle Pitts. So I think that he has managed this year really well. But I think last week was just a really bad look for them, and the way they came out flat against a good opponent like the Cowboys. I'm looking at Bill Belichick, and one thing that he does often is he takes away the other team's best players. Calvin really most likely isn't going to be playing this game. Kyle Pitts, I think he's going to be the guy that they're going to have to take away. I think he's going to not make any noise. I think it's too hard to have Cordell Patterson to kind of take him away all game. I think that if you're the Falcons, you need to have Cordell Patterson have a big game, and not just running the football. He has to make it. He has to do it on special teams. I think he has to do it catching the ball as well. Matt Ryan, I think he has played well this season, as I said before. But I think the Patriots are just too well of a team. And another thing that's kind of interesting to see is that I think in total yards, the Patriots are kind of in the middle of the pack when it comes to running the football. But the way they do it and the physical runs that the running backs have, I think that's really what kind of sets the tone for this team, and that's what allows Mac Jones to play a lot better in these games. I think it's going to continue. I don't think the Falcons' defense is going to stop that. I think the Patriots are going to pull away in the second half.
It might be too early to tell this, but based off the looks of it, Damian Harris is a second-year back. Playing phenomenal, having a great year. And looking at what Wandre Stevenson did to that Browns defense, which has been known to be atrocious. Good, yeah. I think that has potential to be the next Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt type of duo.
I could see that. I think they're still really young, but I think that could be a possibility. Next game I'm gonna go with is the Bengals and the Raiders. Now both of these teams are coming off a few questionable losses, a few games where you kind of have to scratch your head and wonder if these teams are for real. For the Bengals, they're coming off of a bye week. They are on the road now, and I think if you're the Bengals, you just have to understand that Joe Burrow has been playing great this year. It's just these turnovers early on in the game and in costly moments like in the Packers game in overtime, having that big interception to start off the game against the Browns, a division opponent. You throw a pick six. I think for Joe Burrow, the next step is for him to just protect the football, because he is playing great. He's up there in touchdowns and yards and all that. But I think that that's the next step for him. And I think that this defense is going to get back on the right track after having two lackluster games that were kind of questionable. I think Jamar Chase, he was kind of neutralized against the Browns. He didn't really have that many big plays. Once he did, he fumbled the football. Yeah. So I think that Jamar Chase is going to get back on track. I think this is a good game for the Bengals to get back on track because of their opponent. The Raiders, don't get me wrong, the Raiders have started off good in the past 2 years. But these last losses are kind of confusing to me, and especially considering how your best player on offense is playing, Derek Carr, having 2 bad games. And also the offense as a whole, their offensive line hasn't been holding up as well as early in the season. I think the Bengals have the better quarterback as of right now. I think that they have the better running game as of right now. And I think they're going to set the tone. They can control the ball, and I'm going with the Bengals.
Yeah, both of these teams are coming off of losses, and both of them need a win desperately. And the Bengals coming off a bye doesn't really help much in the Raiders' favor because they have 2 weeks to prepare now. So, but like you said, I don't think Joe Burrow's better, if I'm being honest.
I think right now.
But I think Derek Carr is better at not making bad decisions. I mean, I know he's had picks, but some of Joe Burrow's picks have just been awful, like throwing right to the defender. You know what I mean? But I think with Derek Carr coming, he needs this. I think he needs this. I think he knows what the Raider fans, what they're going through. It's like a repeat over and over again. I'm pretty sure they all know this, the Raider faithful, and I take the Raiders in this one.
Do you think it's going to be a close game, or do you think
I think it's going to be a close game. I like tuning into these games, especially when good teams are coming off tough losses, and they're both sitting at 5-4. It's going to be a hard-fought game.
I think another thing to look at when it comes to these two teams is how Max Crosby is going to look against this offensive line for the Bengals. don't get me wrong, the Bengals, they've held their own, especially how we thought they were going to look this year, but they're not great by any means. I think Max Crosby can have a big game and affect this game in a huge way. But again, just like I'm saying, Bengals are going to run the football. I think they're the better team when it comes to running the football. I think Joe Burrow can hit more of the explosive plays. As we know, Carr's missing Henry Ruggs, so I think that explosiveness is kind of gone with this offense. I'm going with the Bengals. Next thing I want to tap into is the Sunday Night Football game. Chargers and Steelers. Both of these teams are kind of intriguing to me, especially for the Chargers, how they started off hot. They still look like a decent team. It's just that they haven't had that firepower that they've had early on in the season. The Steelers, as you know, having that tie to the Lions in overtime. And it's not even necessarily that tie, but it's how they look in that overtime. Having 2 costly fumbles, it isn't really what you want to see, especially when you don't have that kind of firepower on offense. The way your team wins is ugly wins, scoring less than 20 points. And a game like that, you need that win, especially in the division you're in. So I think it was a really bad look for them. They're going to go into a hostile environment. Either way you look at it, I think they could be hostile, but as you know, Steelers fans travel really well, so I think that they will have the advantage like that. But the Chargers, I think Justin Herbert, I think he's gonna have a tough task with his defense, the pass rush. I think the Steelers D line is gonna be the matchup against the Chargers O line. I think it's gonna be the matchups to watch all game. I think it's gonna be really intriguing, but I think for the Chargers, I think you just have to run the football, get back to the what you were doing early on in the year. I think Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are going to have to play better. As we were saying early on in the year, before that Ravens game pretty much, that they were that number 1 receiving duo. Mike Williams kind of stepped down a little bit, hasn't had those explosive plays. Justin Herbert has been throwing a lot of interceptions as of lately. So I think it's going to be a pretty good matchup. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think if they have the ball later on, I trust in Justin Herbert, and I'm giving them the win.
So Ben Roethlisberger, his play is in question. I'm not sure if Mason Rudolph's going to play. Minka Fitzpatrick is out.
No, actually, I think most likely Mason Rudolph is going to play.
Yeah? Okay. So Minka Fitzpatrick is out, right? And for the Chargers, as we all know, Joey Bosa got put on COVID. And someone else who I can't for the life of me remember. But going in this game, like you said, I think it's going to be very hard fought. Not a lot of points scored.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be a battle of the defenses. And like you said with Mike Williams, he's been absolutely shut down ever since Baltimore. And the main guy has been Keenan Allen. I think he's averaging like 10 targets per game since then. But it's just not resulting in touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point you have to hit the big plays like you were before. You got to get your game plan right. And when the Steelers defense is coming into town, you for sure have to execute very well. And I think I got the Chargers in a bounce back game on Sunday Night Football.
Okay, I'm not mad at that. But yeah, it's like how Little Man said, Mason Rudolph. I mean, he did have some pretty good plays early on in that game, but as you know, he kind of hit that wall towards the middle of the game. I think that the Chargers are also going to have their hands full with Najee Harris. As you know, Chargers' run defense is not good by any means. I think Najee Harris, he's going to have a really big game.
Their secondary is a problem too now.
Yeah,
it's just the defense as a whole.
I think also, because they have been missing some players in their secondary, so I think that's going to be hard. But I think fantasy owners, if you own Najee Harris, I think you're going to be in for a really good game with him. Moving on, the Monday Night Football game. This may not have the appeal as other games this week, but Giants and Buccaneers, I think that is a really good matchup considering where these two teams are at. The Giants coming off of a bye week and having a big win against the Raiders. At home, having a good bounce-back win. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers now dropping 2 in a row, and in all their losses, they've kind of looked lackluster, and it's kind of head-scratching when you look at their losses. What do you think about this game, Aaron?
This game going in, like you said, the Giants coming off a big game. Buccaneers suffering a horrible upset loss in Washington. But this game's being played in Tampa. Last year, this game was really good, and I thought the Giants got robbed, if I'm being honest. But this year, I feel like with the Buccaneers coming off a huge loss, I feel like their mentality going in this, it has to be a blowout win or nothing. If it's not a blowout win, Bruce Arians, you're going to see him livid in the media, when he talks to the media after the game, I'm pretty sure. And the Giants, I know they won big, but I just don't see them moving the ball against this Buccaneers defense who's going to be hungry to stop this offense. Just last year, because they struggled so bad. On the same night, too, a Monday Night Football game, they struggled so bad to stop Daniel Jones in this offense. And I got the Buccaneers. I got Tom Brady in a bounce back. I think he might unleash for another 4-touchdown game. I mean, you never know. But I'm taking the Bucs at home.
Yeah, talking about that last year's game on Monday Night Football, I think that Daniel Jones, he did miss a lot of huge throws that could have resulted in big plays. And also, you can't forget that 2-point conversion at the end of the game was it Deion Lewis, I think?
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of, I think the Giants kind of beat themselves in that game. But yeah, I agree with Aaron. I think that Tampa Bay is going to have a big bounce back win. When you have the GOAT as your quarterback, I think that it's kind of hard for you to drop 3 in a row, especially to a mediocre team like the Giants. Don't get me wrong though, if this defense for the Buccaneers doesn't come out how they've been playing in early on in the year, I think it could get ugly really fast. I think Saquon Barkley is due to come back this week. So I think it's going to be a very interesting matchup. And again, kind of the Giants, if they lose this game, I think they're kind of out of the playoff picture. As we know, we're not expecting them to make a push, but I think right now...
I think Washington has a better chance, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Washington and Philadelphia, as we know.
Yeah.
So Tampa Bay is going to be interesting because, again, Tampa Bay, if you drop a third game in a row, you have the Saints who are coming in. They could win a few games. You have the Panthers who are coming in looking rejuvenized with Cam Newton as a quarterback. So you can't afford to lose this game. Next game I'm going to go with is the Eagles and the Saints. I think that this game is going to be very intriguing. I don't think a lot of people are looking into this game, but like I said in the beginning of the video, a lot of these games have a lot of playoff matchups. They have a lot of there's a lot of things that could go in. If a team loses, they could be bounced out. Team wins, they could just shoot forward. What do you think about this game, Aaron?
This is like the Cowboys Falcons. It seems like these teams play every year.
Yeah.
And as y'all know, last year this is the same team that Jalen Hurts went off on.
Yeah.
This is where all those eyes were on him, and everyone saw him as a franchise quarterback going forward. Now the Saints team does not let up. I know they're out with a bunch of players, but they're much like the Titans. They're very well coached. They put up a fight like they did against the Titans last week. But with the Eagles, I see this connection between Jalen Hurts and Sirianni starting to work, starting to finally kick in. Devontae Smith is playing like the Heisman Trophy winner he once was, and I think he hasn't even near his ceiling. He's still right here. His ceiling is very high, maybe one of the best this league has ever seen. But one guy I've always said that I want to see more of in this Eagles offense, and I think they'll need him considering the fact how good this Saints defense is Jalen Reagor.
Yeah.
I want to see more balls thrown his way, and I know they have to get Dallas Goedert going. Because I know every time he gets the ball, he's bound to fight for more yards. And I love the way he plays. He reminds me a lot of Jason Witten.
I don't know if he will play though, because he did go out with a head injury.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. Well, if he does play.
If he does play,
I expect to see a lot of him. Moving forward, I don't think Trevor Siemian can not so much move the ball against his defense, because I think they're still very talented up front. And the secondary is starting to pick it up too as well. And the way they made Denver Broncos look last week after they just wiped the Cowboys out was absolutely amazing. And I think I expect a repeat, and I'll take the Eagles in this one once again.
I agree with you. I'm going to take the Eagles in this game. I think that they kind of understand how important this game is. I think that they have the better quarterback as of right now. I think the offense is starting to find their groove. And one thing that I'm happy about is most likely Miles Sanders is coming back this week. The way our offensive line, the way Nick Sirianni has been calling plays, I think that Miles Sanders is coming back. I think he's a home run hitter. I think that's the way you describe him as a running back. I think that when you have him in the backfield, everyone has to watch him along with Hurts. I think that this is the game where you could kind of see this offense kind of develop into more of a zone read kind of offense, and Hurts can have big plays, Sanders can have big plays. And the guy, it kind of sucks because we got Boston Scott and Jordan Howard. The guy I don't want to see pushed out at all is Jordan Howard. I think he's that bruiser back. I think he's the guy that you need and that we were missing early on in the year. Going on with the Saints, I think that Simeon, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he is bound to make some good plays. But I think the way you kind of combat that is you get pressure. The Eagles haven't gotten pressure with their front four in about a month now. I think that the Eagles are gonna have to send more blitzes. I think they're gonna have to be more aggressive, and we allow a lot of completions versus all these quarterbacks. We have to make Trevor Siemian beat us. We can't give him easy completions and let him get into a rhythm. I think that's a recipe for disaster.
He's not bad.
Yeah,
Trevor Siemian.
Yeah, by any means he's not bad. They were in it last week against the Titans. And you still have Alvin Kamara in the backfield. So I don't think this is an easy win by any means. But I do think the Eagles having that home crowd behind them, I think they know how much this win means. And I think that they're going to come out on fire.
And another side note is too that last year's game, before that game, the Saints didn't give up a 100-yard rusher.
Yeah.
And I think about 3 or 4 years. And sure enough, Miles Sanders goes off for I think like 130.
Yeah, so I think Miles Sanders, he has to be the key. He hasn't gotten a touchdown at all this year. He is coming back from IR. I think Nick Sirianni is going to understand that. He's going to give him his touches, just like a lot of coaches do when they understand players want extra money on their contracts, whatever. They give them the ball to make plays and get more money. I think that's what he's going to do with Sanders. I think Sanders is going to have a big game.
Yeah, I expect a very physical game up front.
Yeah. Next game I'm going to go with, and I think it is probably the most interesting matchup of the week. I think that Colts and Bills is...
Oh, okay.
What
I
do
thought
you
you were
think?
going to say Packers, Vikings.
No, I think that Colts and Bills is a very interesting game to look at. I think both of these teams are kind of fighting for their first spot. I think the Bills are the better team, but I think that the Colts could still make a push, even though it's most likely not going to happen. I think they can still make the push for their division. So what do you see with these two teams?
It's a rematch of the wild card from last year, as we all know. Two very different teams now.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz is playing quarterback. Jonathan Taylor is having the breakout season that we couldn't even imagine him having, if I'm being honest. And the Bills' defense is top 5 in every category. I don't think they were near that last year.
Yeah.
But this matchup, I mean, God, it has to be playoff atmosphere. Nothing better
I
than
agree.
playing in the Bills, and I think it's New Rutherford or something like that. All I know is that they don't play in Buffalo. It's somewhere in New Jersey, I think. And the Colts visiting. These two teams, I mean, it's something about physicality with both of them. I see it flying all around the field. Very well coached, Frank Reich versus Sean McDermott. Josh Allen versus Carson Wentz. Two big arm quarterbacks. And then two, Jonathan Taylor and Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
And Michael Pittman, as you all know. That matchup with him and Tre'Davious White should be fun, in my eyes. But going into this game, I think the Bills are more physical. And I think the Colts, don't get me wrong, they're very physical up front. It's just the defense. I've seen them give up so many big plays.
Yeah.
And it's still the weakness of this team. And that's what the Bills are based off of, is big plays. And I think that they can find that easy here. And especially if they get Devin Singletary going, or Zach Moss, any of those backs. Like Matt Breida, we saw a lot of him last week in that speed and those wheel routes, using him out the backfield. It's going to be tough, and that's why I'm taking the Bills in this.
I agree with you. I think the Bills definitely have the home field advantage. They have the advantage with home field. I think they're the more physical team, as Aaron said. I think when it comes to the two quarterbacks, don't get me wrong, I love Carson Wentz. I love the way he's been playing this season, but I don't trust him when it comes to late game situations as much as I do Josh Allen. I think they're kind of the same quarterback. I think they're both big guys. They're both above 6'5". They're both 240, but they both extend the play really well. But I think that Carson Wentz at times can get in his own head, and I think that could lose them games. I think if you're the Colts, the way you want to win this game is you want to control the time, you want to control the clock, and just run the football down the throats. You have 3 really good running backs who I think could win you games. So I think that you have to utilize that. I think Wentz, when it comes to, I think his QBR when it comes to targeting Pittman is one of the highest in the NFL. So I think that connection is going to continue to build. But with the Bills, one thing I have to worry about, they haven't won a close game all season. Like, I did not realize it until I looked at their games. They haven't won a close game all year. I'm not saying that they can't win a close game. I'm saying that you kind of have to think about it and see if they can win a close game this year. As you know, the Monday Night Football game against the Titans, they lost it due to a messed up and a busted QB sneak.
Week 1.
Yeah, and then week 1 as well with the ugly loss, and then against the Jaguars. So I think that if you're the Colts, you have to keep it close with them. As you know, the Bills have the best point differential in the NFL. But I still take the Bills. I think Josh Allen is on a roll right now. The way they demolished the Jets, I think that they're going to have a huge win this week, and I think that they're going to solidify themselves as a top team in the AFC. Next game I'm going to go with is the Vikings and the Packers. Now, record-wise, I don't think this is a good matchup to look at, but when it comes down to it, these are two division opponents. When it comes down to it, the Vikings had a really good win last week against the Chargers in SoFi Stadium. They're still in the playoff hunt, but I do think that if they lose this game, if they do drop this one, it's going to be really hard for them to come back. That's too many games that you've lost. You're about to be, 4-6? Too many games you've lost that you could have won. I think it's going to be hard when you're competing against other teams to get into the playoffs. So what do you see with this game, Leroy?
This game last year, as we all know, when the Vikings went into Green Bay, absolutely put the whoop on them, and Dalvin Cook had that breakout game. I do not expect that. This defense, this Green Bay defense, is playing. I think they're number 1 defense in the league, if I'm being honest. It's either them or arguably the Patriots right now. And with Kirk Cousins, he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. He only has 2 picks this year.
Yeah.
With 18 touchdowns. But if they want to win this game, I think you have to ride high on Dalvin Cook once again. You have to see what they're going to give you. And if he goes off like that, him coming out the backfield catching passes was absolutely deadly against this team last year. But one thing with the Packers is obviously this Vikings defense, on the other hand, is a much opposite of what the Green Bay Packers defense is. They give up a lot of big plays once again. I was high on their secondary going into that Cowboy game, but after watching that, I think it's hard to say that they're very good, that they're good.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest. So I expect a big game from Devontae Adams, Valdez-Scantling,
Randall Cobb,
yes. And A.J. Dillon's finally going to be the number 1 back. I'm pretty sure Aaron Jones isn't going to play.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
we
going
all
to be out
saw
for an
that.
extended
We all saw
season.
that injury. He couldn't even put on his own power. Randall Cobb had to carry him to the locker room. And AJ Dillon against his front line for the Vikings. That's just easy money all day. I'm going with the Packers.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's something that's kind of weird for us to say, but the Packers are a much more physical team when it comes to this matchup. Again, like how you said, last year Dalvin Cook had that 4-touchdown game, and he was honestly, it was just that the Vikings were more physical than the Packers. But looking at it, I think the Packers, they're gonna bring in two of them. They are Vikings are at home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Aaron Rodgers being in a dome this week, I think him being another week removed from COVID, he's going to kind of find his rhythm again. I think him and Devontae Adams are going to have a huge game like they always do against Minnesota. I think that if I'm the Packers, though, I have to kind of be worried about this Vikings offense. Even though Dalvin Cook hasn't had the year we've expected from him, Justin Jefferson is still a great receiver. It's kind of interesting how in the beginning of the year we were kind of saying he was having a sophomore slump. He picked it all the way up this season. He had another great game last week. So I think that that's something they have to look at. And I think that the Packers corners, even though they have been playing really well, they're by no means they are going to be the bright spot of this defense. I think that they can get exploited and exposed. But I'm going to go with the Packers. I think they're the better team, better coach team, have the better quarterback, and I think that they're going to have a dominant win at home. On the road. Now we're going to go into rapid fire. For those of you that are new, rapid fire is just the games that we want to cover, just don't have enough time, or they're just not that appealing. So first game I'm going to go with when it comes to rapid fire, Seahawks and Cardinals. Aaron, give your take.
Seahawks aren't looking that very good. I'm not sure if Kyler Murray or DeAndre Hopkins is going to play. But either way, the Cardinals always find a way to win in Seattle, and I'm taking the Cardinals.
I'm going to take the Seahawks depending on how Kyler Murray is. I think if Kyler Murray comes in and plays, I think that the Seahawks still have a really good chance to win, but Kyler Murray is going to edge them out. If he doesn't play, I think Russ is going to bounce back and they're going to have a big win. Next game I'm going to go with is the Texans and the Titans. I think that this game is going to be a blowout game. I think the Titans find a way to win by any means. You still have a good running game with Adrian Peterson, and you still have a bunch of backs that can get you wins. Tannehill's looking pretty good. I just don't see anything with the Texans, so I'm going to go with the Titans.
This might sound crazy to say, even though we have the 0-8-1 Lions, but I think the Texans are the worst team in the NFL.
I could agree with that.
So I'm taking the Titans in a blowout win.
Yeah, next game I'm going to go with is the Lions and the Browns. I think 10 years ago this would have been the worst game in NFL history, but looking at how the Browns are looking, I think that they still have a really good chance to win this game. I think they aren't out of the playoff picture. Looking at the Lions, they put up a lot of fight, but they just don't execute in games. The best you could do is have a tie with the lackluster offense against the Steelers. So I'm going to go with the Browns. I think Nick Chubb could come back this week. I think Baker Mayfield isn't going to have that kind of game 2 weeks in a row. I'm taking the Browns.
Yeah, I have Baker in a bounce back game. Hopefully it's a big win, but I got the Browns in a big win.
I think a game that could be interesting this week is Jets and Dolphins. Even though it doesn't have that much appeal, I think both teams can play really high. I think Tua is going to get the start. I think that he's been playing really well when he has a full game. As you know, they upset the Ravens, and the Jets have also upset a few good teams this season. So I do think that it's going to be interesting to see. Joe Flacco is getting the start this week. Mm-hmm. He's going to come back, and as we know, he's the vet. He could do anything on the field when he's in a rhythm. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins, though. I think that they have the better defense. I think they're the better coach team, and I think that Tua could continue to play good.
This game is going to be very interesting. In my opinion, I think it's going to be really good, considering the fact that both teams are really bad. But I have the Dolphins riding high off that big win on Thursday Night Football against the Ravens. And I expect a repeat of what that defense did to Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm. 49ers and Jaguars. That's the next time I'm going to go with. 49ers coming off of their best win of the season against the Rams. I think that playing against the Jaguars aren't a well-coached team by any means. I think Trevor Lawrence is making a lot of big mistakes that are hurting this team. And they pretty much, I think he has lost them some games. If we're being honest, a lot of turnovers. That's never a good thing. I'm going to go with the Niners, more physical team, better coach team. Jimmy G doesn't make a lot of mistakes that Trevor Lawrence does. So I'm going to go with the Niners.
Yeah, the Jags are the Jags. The Niners coming off a huge win, and I don't see anybody on the Jags stopping Deebo Samuel, who's arguably the best run after catch receiver I've seen in a long time.
I could agree with that. Next time I'm going to go with is the Ravens and the Bears. I think that this can be an interesting game, considering how the Ravens have lost a few games that they should have won. With the Bears, Justin Fields coming off of his best game as a pro. under the bright lights on Monday Night Football against the Steelers, against a really good defense. I think that's something you could build off of, coming off of a bye week as well. I think that the Ravens, they should win this game, and I think they will. But if you let Justin Fields get hot again, and if Lamar has a lackluster game again, I think anything could happen.
Yeah, this game's in Soldier Field, so I mean Justin Fields is gonna be riding high off those fans, and that stadium's gonna go crazy for him. And I think this is gonna be a good game as well. I think Justin Fields is gonna give the Ravens defense a run for their money, and I'm not sure that maybe that Bears defense finds a blueprint once again, back-to-back weeks, that what the Dolphins did to them on Thursday Night Football. But either way, I'll take the Ravens in a close game.
Okay. This next game, and the last one we're going to go with, is the Washington Football Team and the Carolina Panthers. I think there's a really intriguing game, not on the field, but when it comes to headlines. As you know, Ron Rivera going back to Carolina, and how fitting is it that Cam Newton might get his first start against his old head coach. I think it's going to be very fun to watch. I think they are going to have a little chit-chat. I think during the game, I could see Cam doing that. I can see them kind of going back and forth in the middle of the game a little bit.
I think they have a good relationship.
No, I'm saying but competitive fun. I could see him saying some stuff. So I'm gonna go with the Panthers though. I think when you get that kind of locker room guy like Cam Newton back on your team, I think that he's gonna build off of this, having a full week of practice, having the weapons that he does have on the offense. I think that Chase Young being out for the Washington Football Team is too much of a loss to overcome, especially when your D-line hasn't been playing that well anyways. So I'm going to go with the Panthers.
Yeah, obviously the Washington Football Team came off a huge win, but I think that the Carolina Panthers are riding more high, especially with Cam coming back and how different they looked last week. And I expect a big game from CMC. I got the Panthers in this one.
Yeah, so that does it for all of our games. Thank you guys for watching. If there's any games that that you're mostly intrigued about, anything you want to critique us on, give us just give us any feedback. Thank you guys, we greatly appreciate it. Thanksgiving's coming up. Hope you guys have a nice and safe Thanksgiving. Anything you want to say?
I think you covered it.
Thank you guys.